Alright, settle in folks, grab your maple syrup or maybe something a little stronger, because things are about to get weird. Welcome to our countdown of the 5 scariest mysteries of Vermont that were so disturbing, they were meant to stay hidden. We're peeling back the picturesque autumn leaves and postcard-perfect covered bridges to stare into the abyss that is Vermont's spooky underbelly. These aren't your grandma's quaint ghost stories, these are tales that have baffled investigators, terrified locals, and left a permanent chill in the Green Mountain air. You might think of Vermont as all ski slopes and Ben and Jerry's, right? Peaceful, serene, maybe a little too into fish, but lurking just beneath that charming veneer are stories so unsettling, they make you question what's really going on in those deep, dark woods and quiet, isolated towns. We're talking about people vanishing into thin air, spectral entities making their presence violently known, and creatures of legend that might just be more than fireside tales. It's a side of Vermont that doesn't make it into the tourist brochures, and perhaps for good reason. So buckle up your seatbelts or, I don't know, maybe just huddle under a blanket, because we're about to embark on a journey through 5 of the most perplexing and downright terrifying mysteries this state has to offer. Some have explanations, some have theories, and some are just gaping holes in reality that nobody can quite figure out. And isn't that the fun part, or the terrifying part? Probably both. Let's dive in, shall we? If you dare. First up, we've got a doozy, the Bennington Triangle. Now this isn't some Bermuda Triangle wannabe with a catchy name. This place has earned its spooky reputation, one disappearance at a time. Nestled in southwestern Vermont around Glastonbury Mountain, this chunk of wilderness has a habit of, swallowing people whole. We're talking at least 5 individuals vanishing between 1945 and 1950. No trace, no clues, just gone. Poof, into the Vermont ether. It all sort of kicked off, or at least gained notoriety, with Mitty Rivers in 1945. This guy, 74 years old, an experienced hunter and guide, knew these woods like the back of his hand. He was leading a group, got slightly ahead and then, nothing, vanished. Extensive searches turned up diddly squat except for a single rifle cartridge in a stream. Now, experienced woodsman, familiar territory, it just doesn't add up, does it? Unless the squirrels are packing heat and have a grudge, which, knowing Vermont, I wouldn't entirely rule out. Then, probably the most famous case from this eerie hotspot, Paula Jean Weldon, an 18-year-old sophomore at Bennington College who disappeared on December 1, 1946. She told her roommate she was going for a long walk on the long trail, dressed in a distinctive red parka. Several people saw her start her hike. And then, you guessed it, she walked off the face of the earth. This wasn't some casual stroll where she might have gotten lost. This sparked a massive search involving the FBI. Still nothing. Not a scrap of clothing. Not a footprint after a certain point. The theories, oh boy, the theories run wild. Everything from your standard getting lost and succumbing to the elements, which for some of these cases seems almost too simple given the expertise of some individuals, to more colorful explanations. We're talking serial killers, UFO abductions, because why not? And even whispers of a Vermont monster or some kind of interdimensional portal. You know, the usual suspects when people just up and disappear from a creepy mountain. The local lore even speaks of a man-eating stone or a place where the compasses go haywire. Spooky. What makes the Bennington Triangle particularly unsettling is the sheer of evidence. It's one thing for someone to get lost and for remains to be found later. It's another for multiple people to vanish, seemingly without a struggle, without leaving any sign of their passing, in the same general area over a relatively short period. It's like the land itself decided they weren't welcome anymore. Or maybe it was just hungry. A hungry, hungry mountain. That's a comforting thought. 1 year to the day after Paula Weldon vanished, a man named James E. Tedford, and we'll talk more about him later, spoiler alert, also disappeared. While his vanishing act wasn't the Triangle, he was a Bennington resident, and some like to lump his mysterious fate in with the general weirdness aura of the region. It just adds another layer of what the heck is going on here to the whole saga. It's like this invisible vortex of vanishing was particularly active in post-WAU Vermont. Then, in October 1950, 8-year-old Paul Jepson disappeared from a farm on the edge of the Triangle. His mother left him playing near the pigs for about an hour, came back, and he was gone. Bloodhounds tracked his scent to a local crossroads, a place Paula Weldon was also believed to have passed, and then the trail went cold. An 8-year-old boy, pigs, a crossroads. It sounds like the setup for a particularly bleak fairy tale. Just a couple of weeks after little Paul Jepson vanished, Frida Langer, a 53-year-old experienced hiker, also disappeared in the same area after setting out with her cousin. She slipped in a stream, decided to head back to camp while her cousin continued, and was never seen alive again. This time, however, her body found but not until 7 months later, in an area that had been searched extensively. The cause of death couldn't be determined due to exposure. So one found several still missing, still not great odds. The Bennington Triangle remains a chilling testament to the unknown. Is it just a series of tragic, coincidental accidents and unfortunate events magnified by local folklore? Or is there something genuinely sinister at play in those woods, something that defies easy explanation? The lack of answers is, perhaps, the most haunting part. People walked into those trees and simply ceased to be. It's enough to make you want to stick to paved roads, and maybe avoid red parkas. So, when you're hiking in Vermont, beautiful as it is, maybe keep an eye out. And if you see a weird-looking stone or your compass starts doing the cha-cha slide, perhaps it's time to turn around. Just a suggestion. From me, a guy who talks about spooky stuff for a living but would probably cry if his phone lost signal in the woods. Next up, we're trading the wilderness for a house that apparently had more spirits than a liquor store. Alright, let's move indoors, shall we? To Chittenden, Vermont, and the home of the Eddy brothers, William and Horatio. Now these fellas weren't your typical 19th century farmers. Oh no, their claim to fame? Their farmhouse was allegedly one of the most haunted places on Earth. And they were the ringmasters of a full-blown paranormal circus. We're talking seances that would make your head spin, spirits manifesting left and right, the whole 9 yards. Or, as some skeptics might say, a whole lot of baloney. The story goes that the Eddy family had a long history of psychic phenomena. Their mother was supposedly a powerful medium, and it seems her sons inherited the, gift, curse, talent for theatrical flim-flammery. You decide. After their parents passed, William and Horatio turned their isolated farmhouse into a kind of spiritualist mecca in the 1870s. People came from all over, paying good money to witness what they claimed were genuine communications with the dead. It was like the hottest ticket in town, if your town was into spectral visitations. The centerpiece of their operation was the spirit cabinet, a small enclosure where one of the brothers would sit. From this cabinet, all sorts of spooky shenanigans would supposedly erupt. We're talking disembodied hands appearing, musical instruments playing themselves, ghostly figures materializing in various states of dress, or undress, if you believe some accounts. Some reports claimed that up to 15 fully formed spirits would appear during a single seance. 15. That's more ghosts than in most haunted house movies. They must have had a spectral clown car in that cabinet. One of the most prominent investigators of the Eddy brothers was Colonel Henry Steele Olcott, a journalist and lawyer who later co-founded the Theosophical Society. He spent weeks at the Eddy homestead in 1874, meticulously documenting the phenomena. His articles, published in the New York Sun and later as a book called People from the Other World, brought the Eddys international fame. Olcott was, by many accounts, convinced of their authenticity, describing a wild array of spirit manifestations, including Native Americans, deceased relatives of attendees, and even, apparently, some rather exotic spirits from far-off lands. Now here's the thing, the conditions were often less than ideal for, shall we say, rigorous scientific observation. Seances were held in dim light, which is pretty standard for your classic spooky stuff. The spirits often looked suspiciously like the Eddy brothers themselves or their neighbors draped in sheets and cheesecloth. Skeptics at the time, and there were many, pointed out that the brothers were burly fellas, quite capable of quick changes and some deft stagecraft. And that spirit cabinet? Perfect for hiding props and accomplices, but Olcott and many others swore by what they saw. They described spirits speaking in different languages, providing information only the deceased could have known, and even allowing themselves to be touched. One of the star spirit apparitions was Honto, a Native American woman who would often appear. Another was George Dix, a former associate of a seance attendee. The sheer variety and frequency of these manifestations were, if true, mind-boggling. Imagine trying to manage that many costume changes in the dark. It's a feat in itself, supernatural or not. The brothers themselves were described as rather gruff and uncooperative, not exactly charming hosts. They didn't seem to care much whether people believed them or not, which I guess could be interpreted as either the confidence of genuine mediums or the arrogance of successful con artists. They just did their thing, night after night, and the spirits, or spirits, kept on coming. The farmhouse itself, known as the Spirit Vale, became legendary. Despite numerous accusations of fraud, the Eddy brothers were never definitively exposed in a way that shut down their operation entirely. They had their staunch defenders, and the allure of communicating with the departed was a powerful draw in an era fascinated by spiritualism. It was a time when many had lost loved ones in the Civil War, and the promise of one last conversation, one more glimpse was incredibly potent. The Eddys, whatever their methods, tapped into that deep human longing. Eventually the spiritualism craze faded, and so did the fame of the Eddy brothers. Their farmhouse no longer hosts nightly spectral soirees, but the legend lingers. Were they genuine conduits to the spirit world, operating out of a uniquely supercharged paranormal hotspot in rural Vermont? Or were they just very clever, very successful showmen who knew how to work a crowd in a dimly lit room? It's a classic conundrum. Personally, I lean towards highly skilled tricksters, but hey, who am I to say a Vermont farmhouse can't be a veritable Grand Central Station for ghosts? The sheer audacity of claiming of different spirits were on call is almost admirable. It's like, go big or go home, right? And the Eddys definitely went big. Whether they also went home with a lot of people's money under false pretenses is the million-dollar question. Or, adjusted for inflation, probably a bit more. Alright, let's talk about a vanishing act so baffling, so utterly devoid of explanation it makes you want to check if the person next to you is still there. I'm talking about James E. Tedford, a man who boarded a bus and then didn't exactly deboard. He just ceased to be, on a moving vehicle, surrounded by witnesses. Yeah, chew on that for a bit. This one is a real head-scratcher. A locked room mystery on wheels. The date was December 1st, 1949. James Tedford, a 68-year-old World War II veteran, was on his way home to the soldiers' home in Bennington, Vermont. He had been visiting relatives in St. Albans, Vermont, and boarded a bus for the return trip. According to the other 14 passengers on that bus, Tedford was seen snoozing in his seat. The bus made its scheduled stops, people got on, people got off, the usual bus stuff, nothing out of the ordinary. The bus rumbled on towards Bennington, its final destination. When it arrived, James Tedford was gone, vanished. His luggage was still there on the overhead rack, his belongings, including a bus timetable, were still on his seat. But James Tedford himself? Not a trace. It's like he evaporated into the upholstery. The other passengers were understandably bewildered. They'd seen him sleeping. No one saw him get off the bus. The bus driver didn't recall him disembarking at any of the previous stops. Now here's where it gets even weirder. How do you disappear from a moving bus full of people without anyone noticing? Did he jump out a window? Unlikely, and surely someone would have seen or heard that. Did he somehow dematerialize? I mean, we're talking Vermont mysteries here, so let's not rule out the truly bizarre just yet. But seriously, the logical explanations just don't seem to fit the reported facts. The police were called, an investigation was launched, they questioned the passengers, the driver, they searched the route, nothing. James Tedford had simply vanished into thin air. It's the kind of case that makes investigators want to tear their hair out. There were no signs of struggle, no witnesses to anything unusual, just an empty seat where a man used to be. It's like he was an illusion, a collective hallucination that just decided to end. Some theories, of course, tried to make sense of it. Could he have woken up, been disoriented, and somehow slipped off the bus unnoticed at a stop? Possible, but you'd think someone, anyone, would have seen an elderly man making an unscheduled exit, especially since his luggage was left behind. People don't usually abandon all their worldly possessions when they decide to hop off a bus a bit early, unless he was really keen to get away from his seatmates snoring. Then there's the Bennington Triangle connection I mentioned earlier. Tedford was a Bennington resident and his disappearance occurred exactly 3 years to the day after Paula Weldon vanished in the Triangle. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe there's some kind of spooky anniversary vortex that likes to claim Bennington folks. I'm not saying it's a vortex, but it's a heck of a coincidence, right? It adds that extra sprinkle of high strangeness to an already perplexing case. Another unsettling detail, Tedford's wife had also disappeared some years prior. Some accounts say she abandoned him, others suggest she vanished under mysterious circumstances herself. Could there be a connection? Was Tedford running from something? Or meeting someone? If so, why leave his luggage? Why the elaborate vanishing act on a public bus? It just creates more questions than answers, which is the hallmark of a truly great mystery. This isn't a case of someone wandering off into the wilderness. This is a man in a confined space with multiple witnesses around who just ceased to be present. It's almost like a magic trick, but without the magician taking a bow at the end. Just an empty stage, or in this case, an empty bus seat, and a lot of confused people. It's the kind of story that makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up because it defies our understanding of how reality is supposed to work. To this day, James Tedford's disappearance remains unsolved. No body was ever found, no credible explanation ever surfaced. He boarded a bus, took a nap, and then entered the annals of Vermont's most inexplicable mysteries. It's a chilling reminder that sometimes, the most mundane settings like a regular old bus trip can become the stage for the utterly bizarre. So, next time you're on public transport, maybe keep an eye on your fellow passengers. You never know who might just fade away. What do you think happened to James Tedford? Did he slip away unnoticed? Was it something more sinister? Or did he just find a Narnia-esque portal in the back of a Vermont transit bus? The possibilities are endless, and all of them are a little bit creepy. It's one of those stories that sticks with you, making you wonder about the thin veil between the known and the unknown, and maybe making you a little wary of long bus rides through Vermont. Alright, let's talk about bridges, specifically haunted bridges. Every state seems to have one, a place where local legend and spooky vibes converge, and Vermont is no exception. Allow me to introduce you to Emily's Bridge in Stowe, a picturesque covered bridge with a not-so-picturesque backstory. This isn't just any old bridge, it's said to be the eternal haunting ground of a heartbroken spirit named Emily. And she's not always a happy camper, or, a happy haunter. The legend of Emily has a few variations, as these things often do, but the core story is tragic. Most versions say Emily was a young woman in the mid-1800s who fell deeply in love. She was supposed to meet her beloved on this very bridge, perhaps to elope, full of hopes and dreams. But as the story goes, her lover never showed up, stood up at the altar, or in this case, the covered bridge. Devastated and humiliated, Emily, in her despair, took her own life. Some say she hanged herself from the rafters of the bridge, others say she threw herself into the Gold Brook stream below. Regardless of the exact method, the outcome was the same, a tragic end to a life full of promise and the birth of a Vermont ghost story. Ever since, Emily's spirit is said to linger at the bridge, forever waiting for her faithless lover, or perhaps seeking some kind of solace, or maybe just really annoyed about being jilted. You can't really blame her, can you? Being stood up is bad enough, but being stood up and then becoming a permanent fixture at the scene? Rough. Locals and thrill-seeking visitors have reported a whole smorgasbord of paranormal activity at Emily's Bridge. We're talking strange noises, footsteps on the wooden planks when no one is there, mournful cries, whispers, and even the sound of a rope creaking, which is, super cheerful. Some people claim to have seen a white apparition, believed to be Emily, either on the bridge or near it. Imagine driving through there late at night and seeing that. Nope, just nope. But Emily apparently isn't always a passive, weeping spirit. Some of the more unsettling accounts involve physical interactions. People have reported feeling cold spots, being touched by unseen hands, or even being scratched. Yes, scratched. There are tales of cars parked on or near the bridge mysteriously acquiring long scratch marks as if from fingernails. Emily, it seems, might have a bit of a temper, especially if she thinks you're disrespecting her bridge or, I don't know, maybe if your car is the same model her ex-fiancé drove. Pure speculation on that last part. The bridge itself, officially known as the Gold Brook Covered Bridge, is a beautiful example of 19th century engineering. It's a Howe truss bridge, built in 1844, and it's still in use today, which means you can drive or walk right through Emily's alleged haunting grounds. During the day it's charming, rustic, very Vermont. At night though, knowing the stories, it probably takes on a whole different atmosphere. The shadows get deeper, the creaks of the old wood sound more ominous. Skeptics, of course, suggest that the power of suggestion is strong. If you go to a place expecting to see a ghost, every creak and shadow can seem like evidence. And covered bridges with their enclosed, tunnel-like structure and old timbers are naturally a bit spooky, especially in the dark. But the sheer number of accounts, spanning many years, keeps the legend of Emily alive and well. It's become a rite of passage for some Vermont teens to visit the bridge at night, hoping for or dreading an encounter. There have been attempts to research the historical basis for Emily. Was there really an Emily who died tragically at the bridge? Records are a bit murky, as they often are with these old legends. Some researchers say there's no concrete historical evidence of an Emily who fits the story, but does that mean the hauntings aren't real? Or just that the story got a bit muddled over time? Ghosts aren't always known for their meticulous record-keeping, Whether Emily is a genuine tormented spirit or a figment of folklore, her story has certainly made this particular covered bridge one of the most famous, or infamous, in New England. It's a reminder that even the most idyllic settings can harbor dark tales and lingering sorrows, and that love, when it goes tragically wrong, can apparently echo through centuries, especially if there's a conveniently atmospheric bridge involved. So, if you find yourself in Stowe, Vermont, and you're feeling brave, maybe take a little detour to Emily's Bridge. Park your car, turn off the engine, and listen. You might hear the wind whistling through the timbers, or you might hear something else. Just, maybe get a car wash before you go, just in case Emily's feeling a bit scratchy. And if you see a woman in white asking for a ride, maybe just keep driving. Politely, of course. Alright, for our final Vermont mystery, we're heading to the water, specifically to the vast, deep, and occasionally very choppy waters of Lake Champlain. Because lurking beneath the surface, or so the stories go, is Champ, Vermont's very own legendary lake monster. Think Loch Ness Monster, but with a more American, possibly maple-flavored sensibility. Champ has been a local legend for centuries, and the question remains, is it a figment of imagination, a misidentified log, or a genuine colossal cryptid? The earliest accounts of a strange creature in Lake Champlain go way back. Native American tribes in the region, like the Abenaki and the Iroquois, had legends of a large, horned serpent or dragon-like beast inhabiting the lake. Even Samuel de Champlain himself, the French explorer who gave the lake its name, reportedly saw a large, unknown creature in its waters in 1609. He described it as being about 20 feet long, thick as a barrel, with a head like a horse, and a body like a serpent. That's a pretty specific description for just a big fish, wouldn't you say? Fast forward a couple of centuries and the sightings just keep on coming. Throughout the 19th and 20th centuries, numerous eyewitnesses, fishermen, ferry captains, tourists, locals, have reported seeing something inexplicable in Lake Champlain. Descriptions vary, as they often do with cryptids, but common themes include a long neck, multiple humps, dark skin, and a head resembling a snake or a horse. Some reports even claim the creature is shy, while others describe it being quite large and powerful. The most famous piece of evidence, the photo that really put Champ on the map, was taken in 1977 by Sandra Mancy. She and her family were having a picnic near St. Albans Bay when they spotted something unusual in the water. Mancy snapped a single photograph showing what appears to be a dark, humped creature with a long neck emerging from the lake. The photo, often referred to as the Mancy photograph, became iconic. It's been analyzed, debated, scrutinized, and it remains one of the most compelling and controversial pieces of evidence for Champ's existence. Now, skeptics have, of course, offered alternative explanations for the Mancy photo. Could it be a floating log, a wave, a group of swimming otters, or even a cleverly staged hoax? All possibilities. But Mancy and her family have always stood by their story, insisting they saw a living creature. And the photo, whatever it depicts, certainly looks like what you'd imagine a lake monster to look like. It's got that classic plesiosaur-ish vibe that Nessie made famous. Beyond the Mancy photo, there are hundreds of other reported sightings. Some are fleeting glimpses, others more sustained observations. There have been sonar contacts that picked up large, unidentified objects moving in the depths. In 2003, the Discovery Channel even filmed something large and unexplained moving underwater during a documentary about Champ. Was it Champ, or just a really big sturgeon with a flair for the dramatic? The lake is over 400 feet deep in places, plenty of room for something big to hide. The sheer persistence of the legend is fascinating. Champ isn't just a monster, it's a part of Lake Champlain's identity. There are Champ statues, Champ boat tours, Champ-themed souvenirs. The states of Vermont and New York have even passed resolutions protecting Champ just in case it is real, which is either very forward-thinking or a great way to boost tourism, probably a bit of both. Come see our legally protected, possibly mythical lake monster. So what could Champ be if it's real? Theories range from a surviving population of prehistoric marine reptiles like a plesiosaur, which is a bit of a stretch, scientifically speaking, but hey, we're talking lake monsters, to a giant eel, a misidentified sturgeon, which can get pretty darn big, or some unknown species of aquatic animal. Or maybe it's just a collective desire to believe in something wondrous and mysterious lurking in the depths. The debate over Champ continues. Is it a real living cryptid, a testament to the unexplored corners of our world? Or is it a product of folklore, misidentification, and wishful thinking? For many who live around Lake Champlain or who have had their own unexplained sightings, Champ is very real, And for the rest of us, it's a fantastic story, a reminder that there might still be some magic and mystery left in the world, even in a well-charted lake. Personally, I want to believe in Champ. A friendly, or at least not overtly hostile, lake monster just makes the world a more interesting place. But as always, the evidence is tantalizingly out of reach. So if you're ever out on Lake Champlain, keep your camera ready. You might just capture the next iconic photo of Vermont's most famous aquatic resident, or you might just get a really nice picture of a log. Either way, enjoy the view. Whew, what a ride, huh? From vanishing hikers in the Bennington Triangle to spectral shenanigans at the Eddy Farm, from men disappearing off buses to lovelorn ghosts on covered bridges, and finally, to a potential prehistoric holdout in Lake Champlain, Vermont, you've got some serious spooky credentials. These mysteries, some decades, even centuries old, continue to baffle and unnerve us, proving that even in the most serene landscapes, the unknown can lurk just around the corner or beneath the surface. These stories are more than just campfire tales. They're woven into the fabric of Vermont's history and culture. They remind us that not every question has an answer. Not every shadow can be explained away by logic. Sometimes you just have to embrace the mystery, to acknowledge that there are things out there that defy easy categorization. And maybe, just maybe, that's what makes them so enduringly fascinating. It's that little shiver down your spine, that glance over your shoulder when you're alone in the woods or crossing an old bridge at night. Thanks for joining us on this spine-chilling journey through Vermont's darkest secrets. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more mysterious content. Let us know in the comments which Vermont mystery haunts you the most, or if there are any local legends we missed. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and maybe keep a flashlight handy. You never know what's out there. Until next time, try not to vanish.